What up, everybody?
What's up, Jared? How's it going,
What's
man?
going on?
Not
Welcome
much, brother.
to Whiskey with an Agent. This is going to be episode number 23. This one we're going to talk about, I've got some stories, but aside from that, we're going to be talking about some market update stuff. Man, there's a lot going on with the market right now. Real estate is just, this year has been, it's been just mad crazy. Just the way everything is changing, how home prices, skyrocketing over the past 2 years, like 43%, and then now it's, now it's kind of mortgage interest rates are skyrocketing, almost double what they were last year, or a little more than double. It's crazy. But my name's Jared. I'm one of the hosts, and then go ahead. We got to
ruin my intro.
I know. Hey, let's try it again. Try it again. So my name's Jared, the host.
And I'm the other host, Chris. Welcome
right.
to Whiskey with an Agent.
One of these days we'll work that out. Dude,
I like it.
So episode 23, it's October 13th. Hopefully everybody saw our advertisements or postings that we were doing a show tonight. We did one last week, and then we decided to do one.
Ourselves.
What's that? Well, I mean,
I thought we were just doing this for ourselves.
We are. I mean, there's only one person watching, so I mean, how?
Hey.
Oh, there's two. All right, cool. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the market. I've got some deals that I've been dealing with all this week, and I'm gonna
you have a big one going on right now, and apparently you've been a little frustrated. There's something going on right now. So what's going on?
It's well, I tell you what. Before I get into that, I'm gonna have a sip of some whiskey because. Oh man, it's been a long week. I got home from a trip on Tuesday, and then it was just I thought everything was good to go for Wednesday, and it all blew up at 5 o'clock Tuesday night. But we got that worked out.
Why?
And now there's another issue.
There's another issue. So we'll talk to us. Like, what's going on?
It's well, should we start that, or should we get some whiskey in us?
Okay, you know what? You're right. Let's get some whiskey in us. What are you drinking before we get to the stories?
So this is the one that was recommended to me, and I talked about it last week, and I couldn't find it, but I went to the one liquor store that has it, and I found it. I got the last bottle. So this is called Mr. Tom's Butterscotch Bourbon.
Wow.
And it's
that was the one that was talked about last week. Yeah.
And they put like the bottle number, so it's batch number 3 and bottle number 1288. I almost don't know if I should open it, but
you should open it, sir.
Yeah, it says like
you should
1288 right there. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's like they hand write on each bottle, so somebody has written, like counting from 1, and they've gone through and written all the way up to. I wonder how many bottles they actually have. But either way, so it says butterscotch, but I had some. I was over at a friend of mine's house. He's probably going to watch it here in a little bit, but we were over there. He was showing me some of the damage on his roof, but before we went up on the roof, we were like, hey, let's go grab. He wanted to show me this whiskey or this bourbon. So we poured a glass, and then we both climbed up on the roof, and we're looking at damage on the roof and standing up on the roof, just looking around the neighborhood and drinking a glass of whiskey. It was actually really nice. The weather was perfect. The only downside is we had to climb down the ladder after we were done.
I bet.
So, but that's fine. We both made it down okay. It's all good.
Nice. Well, enjoy that, sir.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. What are you drinking?
So I was at my local watering hole the other day, and I was kind of torn between 3 choices. And I actually did a video asking for people's assistance and like making a choice. And it was between the Elvis, which is a Tennessee whiskey, and then there was the one called the Yellowstone Select, which I think was from Kentucky. And then there was the third one, which was Chattanooga straight bourbon whiskey. and that was 111 proof. And so I asked the crowd, and backed by popular demand, a lot of people thought the label was cool, and they
Nice.
selected the Elvis. And
Got
this
the
one is
Elvis.
called Tiger Man. Elvis Presley was a man of many nicknames, including Tiger Man, the king of the jungle. Some
Yes.
say it was his dad who first called him Tiger Man. Some say it was a fan. Either way, the name was a perfect fit. Elvis first performed the song Tiger Man in concert in Las Vegas in 1969 and has continued playing through the years. Usually in the
Interesting.
melody of the Mystery Train, singing over 150 times on stage. So, hey, sometimes the labels just got to do it, right? And I got something else that's really cool, and it's fitting for the season. My wife got me this decanter, and it's probably really hard to see, but that's a
Oh,
skull.
okay. Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's really fitting for Halloween.
For Halloween.
And
Nice.
let's see here. I heard you pop that bottle earlier, so
I did. I
my
just
turn. Your
opened it.
turn. Good sound.
John, it's
Absolutely.
actually it's really good. It doesn't have so John commented butterscotch and looked like he had a like an okay what what that
Interesting kind of thing.
and it actually it doesn't have a it's not like you're eating a butterscotch candy like a hard candy like old people eat.
Right. Yeah.
It's
I would hope
it's
not
real
at least.
smooth. It's got like just a hint of sweetness and but it's good. It's almost this is the perfect whiskey for after you had like a big meal and you still want a whiskey but you want something just a little bit sweet and
Hmm.
this is like the perfect complement to like an after dinner whiskey in my opinion. It's not
Especially
like super
if
strong and it's not burning your throat as it goes down and
almost like
so
it's like a kind of a difference of man, I am just getting blown the hell up by spammers today. Like all hours.
are
They
you
have
really
it, Jesus.
man tell them you're doing a
Um,
podcast right now
I
you can't
know,
be
right?
calling
Tell them to
in
log
right
on.
yeah how about you
Join
log
us,
on and spam us give us the views
right? But
so
yeah, so a lot of like after dinner drinks, I would imagine is like brandy. But I mean, if that's pretty good, have you had it before? I don't think you had it before.
what's that
Add this to the list. That drink,
this one no
Tom's.
I've no I have not I like I said I was introduced to it a week and a half ago when I went over to
Yeah, on the
my
roof.
friend's house and yeah up on the roof and we sipped on a little bit and it was pretty tasty and like I said I tried to get some for last week but not all the stores have it the only place that has it for anybody that's in Daytona um, it's on Bevel and Clyde Morris where the Publix is where that they tore down there's a
Mm,
liquor store over there it's on like if you're facing Publix it's on the left hand side and it's that liquor and but they
nice.
don't have any because I literally just bought the last bottle. It was the last one on the
You
shelf.
you
So,
rated
so
them.
if you go over there tonight or tomorrow, I can't guarantee that they'll have it, but that is the only place that I know has it or carries it. So, so John, if you're gonna
Hey.
put it on your list, just give it a few days before you go try to find it.
So I just
I
realized
don't
I
know.
forgot to
Yeah.
get me a glass.
Oh, come
I forgot to
on.
get me. I forgot to get me a glass. So I gotta
Sounds
go
great.
ahead and
Another
entertain our
bottle.
guests. Gotta grab a glass.
All right.
Good.
Um, well, yeah, John, wine. I'm not sure if they have. They probably do. You can try it out, but I'm not 100% sure. I did not think about going there to try to find it. Anyways, guys, so tonight, yeah, talking about the market. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the market. Home prices have been, like we said, has been go up like crazy over the past couple of years. But now some of the experts are actually saying that uh, home prices are not just going to steady, but they're actually going to start declining just a little bit. So nothing drastic from what I've seen, and it depends on which expert that you talk to or that you read about of whether or not the market, the home prices are going to actually decline. Some say they're going to decline. Some decline 5 to 10%, and others say it's going to just the rate at which they've been increasing is just going to slow down to make a 2% year over year increase. So that's with home prices. And I've got some graphics I want to pop up and talk about here in a little bit. But pending home sales is down. Everything's just sort of slowing down. We're also kind of getting into that time of year when everything starts to slow down. So, but before we get into that, wanted to run this across, and I want to see what's thought is, or I want to see what you think is.
Okay.
This has to do. I mean, it's all real estate related. So this deal that I'm working on, aside from all the other stuff that is going on with it, so we're getting down to we're supposed to close tomorrow, and I from the agent that's buying my client's property. So this is a big deal. We have a property that's selling. We had two properties that we have to sell in order to buy. My clients are buying another property. So we went down. So the buyers that's buying the house from my client, their final walkthrough today. And said, my clients had moved all their stuff out as far as I knew, and I get the buyers did a final walkthrough, and then I get a phone. I couldn't answer. I was going in to get my teeth cleaned, but then she sent me this long text about, hey, your buyers took the washer and dryer. And
you mean the sellers? Are you representing?
I'm representing the sellers. So yeah, the
Right.
sellers took the washer and dryer. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
She said, hey, your sellers took the washer and dryer, and I just quickly responded back because I was literally walking into the dentist office, and I just told her, I said, yes, it wasn't in the contract that your buyer wanted the washer and dryer, so my clients took it with them. And I'm about to go get my teeth cleaned. I'll call you after I'm done. And then she sends me like this 2-paragraph text message about, I can't, that she couldn't believe that they took the washer and dryer. It was on the listing agreement. You can't just assume that the buyers don't want the washer and dryer because, it did sale on the listing agreement, which the listing agreement about, it's on the MLS. So put stuff into the MLS, we put a price, we put all about the property that's being sold, and we put things may or may not sell with the property depending on the negotiation that we have. And washer and dryer.
Right.
So yes, on the listing, it does say washer and dryer as part of the listing. Okay. So then I called, so what do you think about that so far?
Well, so far it seems like it was open to interpretation, but it's all about writing. Like that's on the contract, and there's a specific page, which is page 1 of the contract, that's called personal property. And personal property that's baked into the contract is refrigerator, wall fixtures, range, dishwasher, and a couple other things. They recently took off microwaves because you can have a fixed microwave or you could have it on the counter microwave. And so, but nowhere on that page where it says washer and dryer, because those are considered personal properties that do not convey with a normal sale of a house. And because as well, like, you have to think of it as financing. Some financing, such as FHA, require a refrigerator, a dishwasher. I don't think about dishwasher actually. An oven, and a range hood, and I think actually, a dishwasher. But those are some of the things that go along with financing. So if it's not on the contract, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, she can assume all she wants. You can assume all you want, but there's no validity because. Go ahead, continue. Tell the story. Tell me the story. Keep going. I'm so curious to hear this.
Kind of where, and and she basically was saying the text message like, well, you can't just assume that my buyer doesn't want the washer and dryer because it was in the listing and as part of the sale. And and they're expecting to get that washer and dryer, and so that's how it works. So she gave me a phone number to call her. They're working together, their team whatever. I called her partner, and I'm not going to say any names or anything because
No, because we can't be
bash
disparaging
anybody
to.
specifically.
Yeah.
You're right. So, but I'm going to tell exactly what we talked about. And here's I called them. I called agent and said, hey, what's going on? I got a message or your partner saying something about the washer and dryer. And I said, what's going on? So she pretty much says the same thing. It's talking about, well, it's in the MLS listing, therefore, it doesn't matter. Like, it's in the MLS listing, so my buyer expecting to have it as part of the deal. And I said, well, that's a correct statement because whatever's in the MLS is just informational purposes. Whatever is in the purchase contract, that is what is final. That's what is, whatever's in there. If it's not in there, or whatever's in there or not in there, that's the final deal. And I told her, I said, when you sent me the and I saw that the washer and dryer was not in there, I assume that your buyer does not want it. Is there anything I would have to think, oh, maybe she wants it. I should call her and ask her. Is there any reason I would do
No, you shouldn't, because
No.
that's something that the buyer's agent should make it a point to enlist into the contract as part of negotiations, because it's not on the contract. If it's not on the contract, it doesn't matter. And their line of thinking is,
why would I give them my stuff? If you didn't put it in contract, I'm not going to call you and say, hey, what else of my client stuff would you like? The washer and dryer, like their ice machine. How about their freezer? That stop. If I have to ask you about the washer and dryer, where does it stop? No, that's not how it works. Yeah. I'm a little fired up. This is ridiculous.
If you wanted to ask the question if they were curious about having these items or anything else, that's a good agent, but you're under no obligation to inquire if they want anything else. Like, that's not your job.
No. It's my job to get my clients the best deal possible. And if that means they're going to keep their washer and dryer and maybe they're going to sell it to somebody and they pocket that money, that's the best deal possible.
Yeah.
If washer and dryer on the contract, I would have told my clients, hey, they're buying the house, they also want the washer and dryer. Are you okay with that? No. But I'm not just going to automatically give it away when you send me a contract. And her whole base for the argument was it's on the MLS listing. It's the listing. It says it's for sale on the listing. And I kept telling her, I said, Matt, the contract supersedes anything that is on the listing. And then she told me something about, this is the way I'm doing it for the past 7 years, and I've never had this issue. So saying, I don't know what to tell you, but you've been doing it wrong. But, in essence, to try to save the deal, we obviously have a problem. And you and I are not agree on what the correct interpretation. I said you have your opinion of what it is, and I have my facts of what it is. And we're obviously not going to agree. And what does she do when I say that? She comes in and just have a couple more jabs, and just has to say something else about, well, yeah, because it was in the MLS listing, and I was like, well, that doesn't matter, but you keep bringing it up, and it's, I said, how do we solve this solution? And she asked me, she's like, well, can your sellers can give my buyer a credit for the wash? And I was like, no, they're not going to do that. I said, we're not going to do that. So, that
not at all. There's no obligation to do that. Like, this is not your fault. This is, her fault. She needs to kind of like own up to that and just be like, listen, like, I'm sorry that you didn't negotiate properly and that your buyers were under this perception that this is what they were going to get. But that is not my fault. That is not, and your seller's fault.
Even
My
your
wife is
dog's
getting
upset
home.
about it. Oh.
Yeah, seriously.
But it's the other thing that I even mentioned to her. I said, look, I got 3 transactions in this whole thing. I said my other client house that we're selling. I said the buyer that bought that house, they put in contract. I told her this. I said they put in the contract that they wanted the wash, so we left the washer and dryer. When the house they're purchasing, and this is all again what I was on her during this conversation, said the house that my clients are purchasing, I put my clients didn't care if the washer and dryer, but I put it in the contract because why not? I put it in there. If the seller doesn't want to sell it, they're going to say no, I'm not selling the washer and dryer. But I put in there, and guess what? We got the washer and dryer with that house. This agent didn't put it in the contract, but you did not get the washer and dryer. It's as simple as that. It's cut and dry. There's no. It said this over here. It's the whole point of the story is you need your contract. And you have to be aware of what is included and what's not included.
Yeah.
And if not in there, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I
At the
had
end of the
this.
day, if it goes to a judge, the judge will look at the contract. If you bring him a copy or out of the listing, he's gonna be like, I don't know what that is. I know what a contract is. I know that. And the contract doesn't say anywhere in here anything about a washer and dryer. Sorry.
Yep, nothing whatsoever. Yeah, was there any pre-negotiations? No. Okay, then. So you assumed you're out of luck. I had the same thing happen to me earlier. It was like maybe like 3 years ago, where I represented the buyer, and we go to the closing table, after the walkthrough and everything, and then the next day I get a call. And I'm out golfing. I'm out golfing.
Uh-oh.
I get a call from my client, and she's like, Chris, everything's gone. And I was just like, what do you mean? She's like, the seller took the refrigerator, the range, the dishwasher, and the microwave. And I was just like, that's not supposed to happen. And so I contacted the agent, and he was just like, yeah, they were never part of the contract. I was just like, what are you talking about? He's like, it wasn't on the MLS. I'm just like, but it's on the contract. He goes, no, it's not. I'm just like, yes, it is. It's on page 1 of the contract.
Yeah.
And he goes, it doesn't matter. It needs to be on the it wasn't on the MLS. I'm just like, I literally had the same conversation. I was just like, since when does the MLS supersede anything in writing that's on the contract? He goes, it doesn't matter. And I was just like, yes, it does.
It's just for informational purpose.
Yeah, it's just for informational purposes. And we got into a shouting match. And I literally, he hung up on me, or I hung up on him, because it was just getting into a shouting match. And I pulled up the contract. I sent a screenshot to him on the first page, and I underlined like everything here. And then he literally pretty much said, "Fuck you, Century 21. Talk to my lawyers. Fuck off. You're not getting that." And I was just like, "Bro, you need to talk to your broker right now." And sure enough, he was in the wrong. Still didn't say sorry. Still didn't apologize. And all he had to do, and what he had to do, actually take his entire commission check and go buy my buyers brand new or similar used stainless steel appliances. That was like over $6,000 worth of appliances. And yeah. Oh yeah. And it's just like, it does not matter what is on the MLS, because here's a huge thing right here. If your MLS says the price is $250, but you agreed on contract that it's $230, by your logic of what you're telling me, the price is $250. Well, we didn't sign that agreement in the contract, but it's on the MLS.
But it's on the MLS. So at that, take that one step further.
You see what I mean?
Why even have a contract? Why not just the buyer and seller initial the MLS listing and be done with it? There's a reason we have a contract, because there's a lot of stuff there that protects both sides, and there's things there that you negotiate and you specifically write them in, such as washer and dryer. Appliances, in your case,
that's washer and dryer.
That's baked into the contract, so that's in there. You don't have to write anything. but that's in there, and that sucks. I had to buy. I mean, he probably deserved
That's
it.
his
That's a hard
fault. Just
lesson.
like this lady,
It's a
and just
hard
like this
lesson to
agent that you're
learn.
dealing with. There's
Yeah,
a good chance that she's gonna have to buy them like
right.
a new washer and dryer. She's
Yeah,
gonna have to suck it up
right.
because that's
And
her fault, no one
at
else's.
at the end of the, you know what I told her, and look, we're obviously we're not going to agree. We have to come. So we're going to come to a solution of some sort. Chris just dropped off here. We're going to come to a solution of some sort. But
Man,
so
that's not
my
even me.
clients
I'm not
have
gonna lie. Hi, honey.
what? Oh, um,
The
so they're
signal is just kind of horrible right now.
what's going on tonight. But so I said we got to come to some sort of solution tonight. And if I said my clients that I said they got a washer and dryer with the purchase of their house. I said we're not closing and nothing is final until tomorrow, so they can't offer it. They can't do anything. I said, but I can ask them if they're willing to part with it. I said I don't know what they're planning to do with that extra washer and dryer, but I can ask, but I can't guarantee anything. She was like, well, yeah, I guess we can arrange for pickup, and I'm like, absolutely, you can, because we're not going to drop it off. We've got
Yeah,
other
definitely
stuff
not.
to do. So I was like, it's about the best I can do right now. I can't, and all I can do is ask, but we can't guarantee anything because we don't own that other washer and dryer just yet. So here we are, and they're closing for it. They're signing tomorrow morning at 9:30, and all I can say is,
Oh,
I
cheers to the headaches we deal with and trying to
go
keep a deal
through.
together. Cheers to you, brother.
Cheers. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's gonna be a good one. I'm ready for this one to be over.
We should definitely have a podcast. I know we're going like completely way off topic
We
here,
are.
but I feel like we every now and then we should do like a rant.
Yeah.
We're gonna be
Well,
doing a rant.
that's essentially what it was.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
this is just
exactly
something. I
what
mean,
this
I was
was. We should just rant.
it had literally just happened, like 30 minutes. We were getting on. It was like 7 o'clock, and I'm talking to this lady, having this conversation. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
I
Why?
can't wait for her to have a whiskey at this point.
Yeah,
That's what
I
you're
was
thinking about. So
and
ready
I
for that
keep
whiskey.
replaying everything that she was saying, and I'm just like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's what sucks. You have no idea like how often I do that myself, like after an altercation or just words or just not need to be said, and I'm just replaying it in my head. It's like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that,
Yeah,
I should
yeah,
not have said that.
right.
Making things worse sometimes, and
Yeah, and that's
as
why I
the more
was
deals you get
trying.
under your belt, the easier it becomes to just kind
Yeah,
of bite your tongue and
yeah,
pick your battles.
and that's why I was trying not to just completely blow her out of the water. I was like, because I'm happy to go circles and circles with her until she gave up and was like, I don't, I'm not, and waiting for her to say, well, we're just not going to show up to closing and be like, oh, okay, you just opened up a whole new can of worms. But I was
Yeah.
like, look, everybody wants the same thing. We all want the deal to go through. I want everybody, to be, whether, you're in the right or I'm in the right or wrong or whatever, even though we know who was right or wrong. But we all want the same thing. We want the clients to be happy, what it's all about. And if somebody makes a mistake along the way, I like to try to help if I can, but not at the cost of my clients who, because I have a fiduciary responsibility to protect them and not just give away their stuff. So, but tomorrow morning is closing, and one of them is signing. My buyers are signing for their house, the house that they're buying at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the buyers are buying my client's house. They're signing their stuff at 9:30, and hopefully everything will be done, ready to go, and we can move on.
You can move on. Yeah. I
Move
bet.
on. But I know everybody's stressed out and ready. We've had a long battle with this, this whole deal. And I'm going to actually record a video and just tell this whole story of this transaction, because it's honestly, it's a really interesting transaction. There's basically 4 transactions that have had to take place for basically one final deal. And it's It's been quite crazy.
That's nuts.
So
That
so
is
I'm
nuts.
gonna
I'm
I'm
not even
gonna
gonna lie.
I'm gonna turn the camera on and I'm gonna talk about this whole transaction. It's pretty interesting. So
It
um, I
sounds
can't guarantee
awesome.
when I'll do, but I'll
Yeah.
get it out there and just talk about everything that happened. Just, if anything, just to kind of talk about what goes on behind the scenes, because there's a lot of stuff that my client is dealing with that I don't necessarily, and that I'm dealing with, but I don't necessarily tell her about because she's already going through, or they are already going through enough when it comes to selling their house, preparing to move, all this stuff. So there's a lot of things that we do in the background that,
That you will never
it's
know
just,
about. And
you'll never
also we have to
know.
maintain our we have to maintain our professionalism, so we can't just go and start venting to you, you know. We
Right.
After we get done, having a yelling match with an agent, we have to go
Yeah.
straight to our client and be like, so yeah, we're having a little bit of an issue right now, and
Right.
we're working
Yeah.
through it, and we're going to
Yeah.
come to a solution very soon. Oh, in
Yeah.
fact, here's the agent right now. Click over the other phone. Click the other line. It's just like,
Right. Yep.
or have you come to your common sense yet? It's
Right.
just,
Right. So you
you know,
change that personality real quick.
yeah, real quick.
Change that personality,
You
and
have
you're
to.
like, you're talking real nice to your client, and then I'll go, what, what's going on?
Yeah,
Make sure you don't
it's so
speak
true.
to the wrong person.
Oh, I
So,
know.
but
I've never done that, thank
uh,
God.
but nonetheless, how about we talk about some market stats and what is going on with that? Because holy
Oh
man,
man, we should just keep going. We should troll everyone.
I know we should.
I'm
Who want
kidding.
to talk
I'm kidding.
about? um,
I can talk about the crazy lady that I had for my most, not my most recent, but last closing. I could talk about. Oh man, I got so much to talk about. We should definitely do another
tell you what,
podcast on that.
yeah, we should pocket some of these stories,
Uh
and
huh.
just our next show will be about the different things, everything that you deal with as a real estate agent.
I
So
agree. Let's do it. Let's
let's
do
talk
it.
about some stats. Let's talk about
All
some
right, let's
stats.
do it.
So I
Let's
kind
dive
of figured
into it.
we'd talk about some of the national stats first, and then we'll kind of go a little bit more local, if that works for you.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
let's roll.
so I've got a couple of graphics. NAR, so National Realtors, they put out a lot of information when it comes to national stats because they get all
Mm-hmm.
this data.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I share my screen here, what'll happen is my video feed is gonna freeze. It's just a glitch in the system right now. But I'm gonna share my screen, and I wish I had a better face than what I just stopped on. Right, I know.
It's okay, sir.
I
It's
should have
okay.
been
I promise.
smiling,
It's all right. You
but
should have been doing something.
you can't really see it. It's a small screen. So over here, so basically existing home sales. So these graphics are done by the National Association of Realtors. So on the left side is existing home sales, and the right side is the pending home sales index. And so right now, I mean, 4.8 million homes sold. This is for August of 2022. But look at on a month over month, it's down just under 0.5%. But on a year over year basis, home sales are down 20%.
Mm.
Did I go offline?
No.
I'm still online. So home sales are on a year over year, they're down like almost 20%. That's that's huge. That is a big deal. I mean, yeah, last year we were selling home left and right like crazy.
Yeah, it
Um,
was nuts.
in, Inventory sits at 3.2 months supply right now,
Which is the
whereas
highest
last year it was
in like 2 years.
2.6. Yeah, it's been down in the very low twos, if not the
Mhm.
mid to high ones for on the national level. Did it ever drop into the ones on the national level?
No, I don't think it dropped
Right
into
around
the
two.
ones. It was always that low
Okay.
two. If it did drop into the ones, I missed it because I would have been talking about
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It must have been for like one brief month.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, 3.2 months, but then and median sales price, we're still seeing an increase, but check it out. It's only 7% increase, Before, in the previous months, if you were to go find this graphic for previous months, you would see that year over year change in the teens, somewhere between 10 to 15% increase on the median
Mhm.
sales price. So you can see that that's starting to drop off in seven. So the median sales price for the entire country is basically $390,000. So that's I mean that's like compare it. I don't remember what it
It's not
was
affordable.
before the
According to
pandemic.
the affordability index is just it's off the chart. Like it's not
Yeah,
feasible, especially with the Fed increase in interest rates. We'll get into here in a little bit. Though we're
right.
trying to, it's as a result, these prices will come down. How long? Give it about like 2 months. Give it. I mean, because we're going into the holiday season, and
Yes.
and it's just gonna they're
Yeah,
everyone's the Fed is trying to make people not spend money, and they're also going out to the job market too. So
correct.
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Am I freezing?
Yeah.
God
No,
damn.
you're there.
Okay.
And then so then we have the graphic on the right, so pending home sales and it's the index. So why is that important? Because so here's what they say about. So this is a leading indicator of housing activity. It measures housing contract activity, and it is based on a sign of real estate, or based on real estate contracts for existing family homes or single family homes, condos, co-ops. And then why is it important? It's because it's future looking, and it helps us to predict sales and advise our clients about strategies for selling and buying properties. So pending home
Mhm.
sales are dropping way off. We may have a different, they're taking longer to sell. We might have a different strategy to work with our seller or even our buyer if we know homes are going to be sitting on the market for longer. Buyers may have a bit more to come and negotiate some, a little bit better price or something like that. So these
Mhm.
numbers here really help us chart out where the market is going and help us negotiate with our these deals for our clients. So
Yeah.
as far as
So
that goes, month over we had a 2% decrease.
mhm. And when you're right too, like going to like kind of talking about sellers, is there a point where we're going to talk about how this affects each party? Can we take this time to do that?
Yeah, yeah. You have
Like going
an
forward?
idea to bring us back full? Well, um, so
Do you have another graph?
let me let
Sure.
me just finish up this one. Index right now is 88.4. I don't know exactly how that gets calculated or how to actually explain what that number means, but if you know, good. But that's what I know. It's down 2%, which means that pending home sales are down. Um, see the difference between Midwest and the West, Northeast and the South. The South has the most pending home sales right now. Um, but so let me put my screen back up and then I'll restart. Let's talk about how this affects how we negotiate and things.
Mhm.
So what
Okay.
you're about to touch on that. So
Yeah. So let's kind of touch on sellers because they still essentially still hold the driver's seat because there's still a very low inventory across the board. So sellers, you have to realize that over the past 2 years, you have accumulated over $75,000 worth of equity. So that is remarkable in a very short period of time. In a normal
yeah,
market, it takes decades to even come close to that. So as this market shifts, and by God, it is shifting, and it's shifting faster than some people have predicted.
right.
And depending on the price point of the home too, you're gonna have to be more aggressive. And depending on what your market is. So here in Central Florida, if your price point is under 300,000, your home is technically gonna go pretty quickly and quicker between 100 and 250,000. We're still seeing multiple offers for good homes. It's still affordable for the most part, so long as you know your financing can withhold it, even with these higher interest rates. But as you get higher into the price point, the um, these homes at their price points are going to sit because the interest rates for a massive mortgage
Yeah.
is a huge price point. It's a
Yep.
huge monthly mortgage. And in fact, I think it was nationally just the other week. Um, it was at a 2 point. Okay, so if you bought a $600,000 house at like a 2.5% mortgage, you had a you had the same monthly payment as someone who bought a $390,000 home in today's. So it's crazy how if you think about it, someone who bought a $390,000 house has the same payment as someone who bought a $600,000 house 2 years ago
Yep.
when interest rates were at 2%. So
Crazy
if
is
you think
that?
about that now, if you take that interest rate and you go to buy a $600,000 house, that is like three times more, like two times more. If you think about
Yeah.
it, I mean, the interest rates jumped from 2 to 6.5% inside of a year.
Right.
So that's just freaking bonkers.
I
So
know.
that's what three times. That's three times the rate, and so no one can afford that. And so those price points will come down. So if you think that the value of your house and you're going to market at that value, you're correct because the value is there, the market, everything around you that is sold, it's good. But no one can afford that. And when you're dealing with
Right.
higher price points, you're dealing with higher level of intelligence. And these people, just like you, do their numbers, they do their math, they talk to their accountants, and they tell them if it's a good buy or a bad buy. I'm telling you right now, it's a bad
Yes.
buy. So a lot of homes are selling at under market value, unfortunately,
Yes.
as a
Yep.
seller. But in the grand scheme of things, you have accumulated well over $75,000 in equity. So if you lose 10, 15, 20, $30,000, you are still in really good shape in terms of
Oh
equity.
yeah.
So you're going to have to bite that loss, and don't end up looking like stale bread. You're like, oh, I should have sold earlier. Well, okay, yeah, you should have, but life has a way of working itself out into way to where it is. You're just gonna have to suck it up, take the L,
Yeah.
and then move on because interest rates are just going to get worse right now.
Yep.
Okay, so
Definitely.
and so you can sell now at a discounted, unfortunately, at a discounted rate to where you can start getting
Yep.
an actual activity, people who would buy it, or you can wait it out, which will be a very long time. And then when the market actually gets worse, which it will, or should I say
Yep.
worse in the sense of normal, so it's normalizing. So you can wait for that, and then you're going to be joined by other sellers who are all trying to get on the bus late,
Right.
and
Right.
then you're going to lose even more money. So the worst time to sell is January, and we
Yes.
did the stats. We did a video on that. Remember, we looked at 10 years, and the month of January was the worst time to
I.
sell because, on average, for the month of
Right.
January across the state of Florida, there were 10,000 um, homes listed during that month. So
Yep.
the best time to sell is between now and December, the rest of this year. After that, you're gonna have to wait until next year and hope to God that there's a small little spike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
as a seller, you have to come to grips. You have to come to grips with what's
Yep.
happening with the market.
Things are changing. I know. I talked to some people. They're like, man, I wish I would have sold. Like they're still trying to sell their house as if it was 5 or 6 months ago. A lot of things have changed
Yeah,
5 or 6 months ago, and
a
you're
lot.
not going to get same type of deal that you would have back earlier this year if you're selling your
Yeah,
house now. You're still, but look at it like this. I mean, when I invest in stocks and stuff like, your stock goes up, and then let's say you've made, in this case with home prices, you've made 40%. Your house should be up about 40%.
yeah,
Okay, well, if it drops down to 35%, you didn't lose 5%. You're still up 35%.
Hmm.
You didn't
Yeah.
you have no loss from 40 to 35. Like, yes, you should have, maybe you should have capitalized on 40%, but just because it drops down, you're not still losing anything. Like way up. So just keep that in mind. A lot of
Yeah.
people forget that because all they see is like, man, my house was worth, $700,000 and now it's 650 or something like that. And it's just that's not the case. You can't look at it like that. The case is your house was worth $400,000 and you're getting 650. It's
Yeah.
the fact that it was worth 700 has nothing to do with anything. It's cool
Yeah.
to
I
know that
agree.
your house was potentially that much, but it doesn't work that way, and you have to look at it with that mindset. And then,
Hmm.
so speaking of interest rates, I wanted to show this, and I'm going to freeze it, but I'm going to put a happy face so I can freeze on a hat.
Wait
Hold
for it.
on, there we go.
Keep smiling
All
for the
right, there we
camera.
go. I got
Smile
a
for the
happy.
birdie.
I did. Hey, that's it. No, it's frozen.
Yep.
It's frozen. So here's the interest rates from, and this is on FreddieMac.com, and I'm gonna post this link here in the chat. But right now, I mean, check it out. Last year, rates were 3.05% for the 30-year fixed. How
Look at
crazy is
that.
that? Oh man. Now we're sitting at 6.92% for the 30-year, 6.09 for the
Yep.
15, and a 5.81 for the 1 year ARM.
Yep.
And you can see that they're just, I mean, we knew it was going to climb this year. And I remember talking about our show at the end of last year. We knew prices were going to climb, and we were doing some predictions based on what experts were saying. They were saying, hey, yeah, it's probably around 5%, and then it's going
Mhm.
to taper off and probably settle down at the end of the year just somewhere just under that. Well, man, this is why I never trust the quote experts, is because we're way past 5%. We're almost up to 7%, and they're talking about it going into the sevens. So
Oh yeah.
it's
They're not
yeah.
done. The Fed has announced that they are not done increasing rates. And in fact, an article came by, and I'm trying to locate it. I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier, and it's in regard to arm loans. They're actually making a comeback. And
Are they?
yeah, I'm trying to locate it here. Stand by.
While you're looking for that,
Yeah,
so
because we need
another
to start
person
talking
that
about
works at
buyers too.
yeah, the NAR. So Nadia Evangelou, she they do like a little blurb every once in a while, and they talked about some mortgage rates. So basically, the opinion of Nadia says mortgage rates are likely to resume their upward trek this week, moving closer to the 7% threshold. Um, they're saying that inflation is going to remain elevated, which is going to put upward pressure on the rates. Job growth is continue to be strong, and producer prices for goods and services rose for the month. So basically, everything is sort of pointing at the fact that home or interest rates are going to continue to rise.
Yeah, and
And
there's even another one too that recently came out today by the NAR's chief economist. And I
is that
actually I
you
sent
talking about this one here?
yep, that one.
Okay. Yeah, I put some bullet points. So I didn't want to read the whole thing,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
a
kind
lot.
of I perused through it, and then I put some bullet points. So basically, what he says in here is, consumer prices rose 8.2%. Rents rose about 7.2%, which is the highest pace in 40 years. So rents have been increasing at a crazy rate, and anybody that's renting out there 100% knows exactly what I'm
Hmm.
talking about. He also says in here, America underbuilt homes in relation to population growth. Energy prices are still up 45% above pre-pandemic conditions. 10-year yield broke past 4% just this morning, and he wrote this today, October 13th. So just this morning, the 10-year yield went past 4%, which we all know that the 10-year yield and the mortgage interest rates kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
If this is going up, obviously the interest rates are going to increase. 7% average interest rate In the coming weeks, the Federal Reserve is trying to cut demand to reduce inflationary pressure. America has to produce more everything because
Yeah,
we
we
don't
need to
have
become
enough
more.
stuff.
We need to become more independent. We are way too
Correct.
reliant on foreign affairs. And I was actually
Correct.
listening to Breaking Points earlier, and they were talking about like the microchips and how like
Yep.
Taiwan is pretty much about 10 to 20 years advance in terms of like everyone else in making this technology. And so like
Yep.
Enacta was just, I think it's about to go through the House or something like that, about making us more independent. And honestly, with everything that's going on, we really do need to be more independent, away from
Mm-hmm.
like foreign. Like everything, well, everything's going to go up in
Hundred.
price. Well, everything goes up in price, but we know it's made here. And if we have another pandemic,
Hundred
we
percent.
will be fine because everything is made here.
Yeah.
So
100%.
we need to go back to
Check
our
out the
other stuff.
last. Check out this last bullet point that he says in here.
So,
3 million Americans still need to be incentivized to get back to work.
and we
Still
actually
people that
that don't have jobs. Yeah.
yeah, that don't have jobs that need to be incentivized. So, and I'm not sure if he's talking about they're getting unemployment and their unemployment, they're making more on unemployment versus what they would if they were to go back to work. And I'm not sure if that's what he's referring to, if it's something else. But yeah, and that might be the case that people are getting unemployment and making more than they were at the previous job that they were at. So why would
Yeah.
you go back to work? I mean, obviously there's many reasons you should go back to work, but again, if you're comfortable and with your unemployment and you're staying at home not working and you're making just as much as you would by going to work, then
Yeah.
I can't say I blame them.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna find that in every state, though. I think that's really state dependent on how they have their unemployment
It is.
system set up and stuff.
It is. It
But you
is.
know,
Yep.
like we're still having job growth, and the Fed has come out and
Yes.
said they don't want that. They're actually trying to cut back on growth right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
So,
which is kind of wild.
but some interesting points. And that's kind of going off of like mortgage rates that we just talked about. The other thing I wanted to before I turn my stop sharing screen, I wanted to show just the lumber prices if anybody's following that. Right now, lumber as of today was at 498. So it is overall, it's still down from where it was. Let me go year to date here. We're back in April, March, April. We've had a pretty steady decline, but then as of recently, we bottomed out there on September 26th at 410, and it's gone back up slightly, but
Yeah.
not near. I mean, if you go back and look at the 5 year, where I mean, back in 2021 when we were right in the middle of the pandemic and all the
Mhm.
plants, the wood mills and stuff were shutting down, and it just started skyrocketing. Right now, we're getting back to some normalcy on
Yeah.
lumber futures, but
Yeah.
it's not quite stabilized yet. I don't think. I think we're still going to see
Mhm.
some more ups and downs of
Yeah.
what the heck is
Yeah,
what's going to go
I
on with
have to
people.
agree that we're going to see some more, a little more up and down. But as housing starts is pretty much new construction when they're starting
Yes.
new construction. So when you hear us say housing start, it's because it's new construction. That has plummeted for the most part, and that alleviates a lot of wood demand. Um, so that helps. So for the pricing, and then on top of that, no one is really doing HELOCs anymore to do home improvements themselves, um, because interest
Yeah.
rates are just sky high. And so like this is now starting to normal and level out, and demand can start catching back up uh,
Yes.
for the
100%.
demand. Hmm.
Um, and then let's see. So the next thing called stats, why the market is homes themselves, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. Um, let me pull my let me turn turn my screen off here and just
Look at that smiley.
see if I can get my.
Smiley McSally
I know,
Smilerson.
but it's going away. I'm gonna see if I can get myself back here and see if it
Okay.
works. But if not, then we'll just have to do without my pretty face for now. Um, so home prices, as far as that goes, so we've obviously seen a huge spike in the past couple of years. The experts are, I think, it totaled nationally, it was like around 43%. This is not on a local level. This is on a national level. So about 43% over the past couple of years. And then basically what's happening now is the mortgage rates are going up, and we're starting to see those home prices slowing down. And now some of the experts are actually saying that we're going to see some declines in home prices. And that, when I say that, that's going to be very market specific, depending on, obviously, in certain markets. You're over in, Longwood, Orlando area.
Yeah.
Are you seeing home prices kind of slowing down? Or are they still holding pretty strong over there?
Yes. So again, it really just depends on the price point. The higher priced homes are sitting longer, and the lower price point homes are sitting, yes, a little bit longer, but they're still getting, the good ones are still getting multiple offers to good price points. So like 250. Went to go
Yep.
see a $250,000 home. It was a flip. It was in really good condition, and it
Yep.
was multiple offers within 2 days. So I mean, there are homes. These consumers are smart. People know what makes sense in terms of like
Yeah.
area to condition,
Yep.
price, and
Yes.
if it's not in a good area, overpriced, or the condition is shit and overpriced, or all combination of
Yep.
any of those, then it's just not gonna. It's gonna sit, and they're at that point when you have to
Yeah.
reduce your price, you're chasing the market at that point, and you will end up with
Right.
less than what you
Yes.
originally thought you could get. Instead of just listing it aggressively and attractively, to go ahead and formulate a multiple offer situation to get even more
Right.
money, especially if you're like, I gotta sell this quick. I gotta sell this quick. Okay, cool. I need you to undersell it. Well, I don't want to leave money on the table. Well, you're not, because if you start too high, you're going to be chasing the market and you're going to be less than what you start off with, versus starting aggressively low compared to your competition, and then
Right.
getting higher and then generating multiple offer, because you have to look at where your competition is. If you're in a neighborhood and there are 6 homes for sale and only one pending, that is a price problem.
Yeah.
100% a price problem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a shit ton of solds in the past 6 months. Take 10. There was 10 sales in the past 6 months, only one pending now, in 6 active properties. You have a price issue. All of those homes have price issues. And especially if you look on their days on market and you see 15, 20, 30, 60, 5 days, like, oh boy, you need to be the cheapest motherfucker there. You have to. You have to be the cheapest one there. And if you're trying to sell it and for the most money possible, you have to be the cheapest one. And I said that correctly. If you're trying to sell it for the most money possible, you need to be the cheapest one. Hands down.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I got to timestamp that because that was a great rant.
It's not always about going in and asking for the highest price. Yeah, like you just said, because you're negotiating. You're gonna tell you're gonna start down a little bit lower, and when somebody comes in and puts an offer, you're gonna tell that person that's buying it. You're gonna say, well, look, we listed it at $575. Everybody else is like $625 or $600 or whatever. You good luck trying to buy something, but so you're gonna create a bidding war because you're gonna see your house and be like, holy crap.
This is a nice house. It's in a nice area, and it's the cheapest one there. Holy shit! This is what we want right here. Right. So, to turn it over to buyers, you're kind of in the driver's seat again, depending on your price point. If you're
Yeah.
if you're above 300, you're in a good position to come in under or to ask for closing costs, especially if the seller is kind of educated on
Right.
on the market and what's happening. So if you come in and
Mm-hmm.
say like 5 grand under and ask for 5K closing costs, chances are they're going to accept it
Yep.
right now. Whereas like earlier this year or the beginning of this year or even last year, they're going to be like, ha, good luck,
Yeah.
multiple offers
Yeah.
already.
Yep.
Whereas like
Exactly.
if you're a buyer at the 200, 250 range, you're still going to be fighting for a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't ask for it, come under and ask for some closing costs. Doesn't mean you won't be successful. It just
Right.
means that ask if there's not in a multiple offer situation, then see what you can get
Yep.
away with. But
Yep.
be prepared to come across stubborn sellers as a buyer, and
Oh yeah.
also be patient because right now like it's not a good time because interest rates are really really high and price points have not budged enough to reflect.
They haven't.
So
No.
if you are buying to only live for a short period of time in this market, like
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years, you probably should wait or should not buy at this time.
Right.
Really, you really shouldn't because interest rates are going to continue to go up and this market is going to continue to go down and it's going to stay there for a little while. Okay.
Right. Yep.
If you plan on living at the home and starting a family, being there for like 10 years, now is a good time to buy. And I mean that because you're going to be able to ride this thing out. You're going to be able to write it out nicely. You're going to get a high interest rate, yes, but in say like a year or by the end of next year, if interest rates come down enough, you can do a refi and you already have a house because you just put a bunch of equity into it by paying off your own instead of renting. Renting, you're not building any wealth renting. Whereas like yeah, you're paying a 7% interest rate, but over the course of say like 2 3 years you have been building equity by paying down your mortgage. All right, something is
Right.
better than nothing. And then in say like 2 3 years when interest rates are now at like say 5%, refi refi you
Yeah.
at that point you have now put even more equity into your home because you have reduced your monthly payment. You're now putting even more equity into the property just by doing a
Right.
refi. So
Yeah.
it's when people ask me, "Was it a good time to buy?" What's your goal? Are you doing short term or long term, or are you
Right.
investing? What's the goal? And then you need to know what's the best thing to do. Plain and simple. If you plan on buying and holding as an investor, it doesn't matter what the market is, man. Buy. Because you're an investor. Like it doesn't matter. It really does. Because are you trying to make money? Yeah. Okay. Can you do what you want to do in this market? If the answer is yes, then what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? So I don't even know if Jared's on anymore. I don't know if I'm talking to myself, but this whiskey is pretty good. I shall have myself another. So if anybody is watching, they have a question regarding the market, you know, fire it away. I definitely recommend the Elvis. This is pretty good. Again, this one is called the Tiger Man, and apparently there's a couple of them out there. There's a couple versions, but that one's actually pretty good, smooth, especially when you get a little bit of water in it, diluted from the ice. So one thing I definitely want to share while Jared is trying to work out his shit is ARMS. So ARMS is essentially adjustable rate mortgage in terms of interest rates. And ARMS were like a big part of why 2007 a crash happened, because a lot of people were signing on the dotted line not knowing that in a year, 6 months, 2 years, that their rate for the interest rate was going to increase radically. And so that was a huge part because a lot of these lenders were also incentivized to get these loans out, these types of loans out, because that means they got more money. I feel like I got a spider web on my face. Um, and so, as of right now, as an article that came out a month ago, September 16th, ARMs are on the rise as interest rates soar. And there's a little blip here that, let's see here. Where is it at? I was just reading. So, nationally, the share of mortgage applications uh, for ARMs has reached the highest level since 2007. An analyst from Zillow shows a 12.6% of mortgage applications were for ARMs in the month of June, and 12.2% of mortgage applications in the month of July were ARMs. And so I don't really see the benefit of it for anyone. At least I haven't been told enough. I don't have experience with these types of ARMs, with these types of loans, because they are kind of a big stigma. And so here's one little thing about it, or a little definition. An adjustable rate mortgage has a fixed interest rate for a set period of time, usually anywhere from a year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 or 10 years before the interest rate starts to change. And I think it changes based off the market. So if the market's high, the interest rate's higher in the market, it's going to change high. There is still risk involved. One of the biggest risks for these types of mortgages is that a homeowner's monthly payment could change frequently, depending on various factors. There's a chance that it could be lower if rates at the time are low, but there's also a possibility that the buyer's monthly payment could jump up. So, knowing that, it just doesn't make sense why some people would want to do ARMs. And if you want to read this article, I think it's great information. I'm going to send it to Jared, and if he ever comes back into play, he can go ahead and throw it up there. Oh, hello.
Yeah, you didn't see me pop up here. I've been watching you for the past.
I was. Oh yeah,
so into it. Yeah, no,
I
know. Right?
No, I was reading the article, trying to find some bits and everything, and yeah, I just went ahead and just threw that into you. So if you could throw that up onto. I threw that in the private chat. If you could just throw that up in there.
Yeah.
That way people can kind of read it. I don't recommend ARMs. I don't see I don't know. Okay, well, actually, here's something. People are looking at ways to bring down their housing costs and their mortgage payments with an adjustable rate mortgage. It gives you the possibility of having a lower monthly payment initially. Huh. Again, why would you do that?
Yeah.
With such an uptick in ARMs for the month of June, July, knowing that interest rates are going up, it makes no fucking sense why people should do that. I don't recommend it at all. As a buyer, no.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Going back, one of the things my computer, the internet is having issues here. I'm actually tethered on my phone now, so I can keep going. But
wow, your phone is doing better at the hotspot than your actual internet.
I know, it's pretty sad. But
it is
talking, back to home prices. I wanted to just go briefly over what the what some of the quote experts are saying. So Fitch Ratings, and if you haven't heard of them, it's basically a provider of credit ratings, and they do research, and then they collect data. And actual like human insight to make their predictions and stuff, but they actually are predicting a 10 to 15% national home price decline is possible. That's what they're saying, 10 to 15%.
Yeah, I bet it's gonna go more though. I'm willing to bet it'll be more.
And I'm
willing to bet it'll be more.
I'm gonna post the article that I got these stats from, but. Moving down the line is Morgan & Stanley. Sorry, the dogs are barking. Morgan & Stanley, the home prices, they're saying home prices are going to fall 7%. Goldman Sachs going to fall 5 to 10%. Moody's Analytics are going to fall 5 to 10%. If probably more if a recession actually comes full
It
on
will.
into us. So it's
It
probably going to be
will.
more than 5 to 10%. Wells Fargo is saying a fall over 5%. I'm not sure who Poison Ivy's Zellman. I haven't heard of that person, but they were in this
Um,
article. They're saying it's going to fall 4% in 2023 and another 5% in 2024. Then here's the flip side. So good old Zillow, they say, oh, we're going
mm,
to see a slight rise in home prices in 2023. They didn't put a percentage on there, but they're saying
no,
they're going to see a slight rise.
I don't think so.
CoreLogic is a big, they're a big player. They collect tons and tons of data, and they're saying home prices are going to, they're still going to be up about 3.2%. Fannie Mae says home price growth will moderate, but they're not saying it's going to decline. So, and that's coming from Fannie Mae. So,
Wow.
it's hard to really know. I mean, it seems like majority of people are saying that we're going to see some declines in the home prices, but um, yeah, we also have some big players that are saying, not so much. We're still going to see some increases, but it's not going to be at the same rate as what it's been in the past 2 years. So I don't know. I mean, how do you how do you know which expert to follow? And I don't know the answer to that. I think you just have to read the information and sort of digest it and figure out what your opinion is, and that's really all you can do. I mean, you take as much information and apply it to your needs, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how anybody does anything when it comes to
That's,
investments and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
do you have any thoughts on who might be right, who might be wrong, or who's way off here?
Well, it's very interesting because these guys have been in the game for a lot longer than I have. So
Yeah,
they've seen the last recession. I haven't.
correct.
So it's very interesting, and I'm trying to think in my head all the variables for them to say that the housing market will be some increasing.
Yeah,
Could there be a rebound? Absolutely. Is it going to be like a rock skipping on water? Yeah, it
right.
could possibly. Is it could be market variable, possibly, depending on the
Possibly.
market.
Yeah.
Some markets would be very stale. I would imagine some would be thriving,
Yep.
um, depending on how much it drops and how much people still want demand, such as like New York,
Mm-hmm.
um, Orlando, some parts of Texas, and even like Oregon,
Yep.
Washington. So I can see where there could be some growth
Yeah.
when this thing bottoms out,
Yep.
but I just don't know for how long
Yeah.
or how much. But I definitely think the drop will be actually significantly more than the 15%.
Right.
That's
Yep.
my initial thoughts, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope it only drops like say 15%. That would be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice for
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say is just either you got to watch it closely or just keep in touch with an agent who should be watching it closely, and just let them give you some information. Because me as an agent and you as an agent, I mean, I don't digest all of this data that these big companies digest, and I kind of have to take that with I take their information and I sort of figure out what's going on in my own market. So, and they're probably looking at the big picture of the entire nation. What I'm concerned about is I am concerned about the overall what's going on in the entire, the national stats, but I'm, more concerned about what's going on in my local area, because that's what matters to my clients. That's what they are most concerned about. They're not going to come to me necessarily to find out what the economy is like based on the real estate and all this, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, but they're more concerned about, hey, how much is my house going to sell for? And what's the market like in my neighborhood or in my town,
Yeah.
my city, my county, whatever.
Yeah. Well, when it
So,
comes to educating our sellers and even our buyers, like the more we know as agents of what's happening in the market, the more undisputed it becomes.
yes.
Like
Yep.
when some of our clients, they start kind of arguing, well, but I was reading, it's just like, what was that what was that document,
Yep. Was it
I've
somebody's
never
blog
really,
post that,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, someone's opinion op-ed,
Yeah. Or Zillow said.
yeah,
I get
Zillow said,
I've heard that one so many times. Zillow
yeah.
said it was worth blah blah blah. I'm like, Zillow also lost about half their company because they said homes were worth a certain amount of money.
Yeah, and they lost. And they also said that their
Yeah.
CEO's house was worth way less than what it was,
Right.
or
Right.
or like way more than what it was.
Right.
Uh,
So,
podcast looks good.
oh,
Cool.
thanks, Kai. Appreciate you stopping by. Um,
Thanks, Kai.
but
So the more, but the thing is, like, the more we can educate ourselves, the easier it becomes for us to regurgitate this information to our clients.
right.
And then if they accept it, awesome. Then we're doing a good job. If they
Yeah.
don't accept it and they push back, well, it's just like, you're going to be a nightmare to work with.
Right.
This might not be a good fit. If you're not going to listen to my advice, like, as a listing as a listing agent, like, you're getting paid for the most part, but as a buyer's agent, you only get paid when the deal closes.
Yes.
So it's just like, am I really going to waste my time trying to educate somebody who won't listen to me,
Who's
do
not going to
everything
listen?
that's going to do pretty much the exact opposite of what I'm saying?
Right.
And, like, it's just, you gotta value your time, and, like,
Yep.
it's just really going to be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Have
agree.
a good night, Kai.
See you, Kai. Get that homework done.
You don't have to tell him. He said he was going to do it.
I know. Well, he
Lay off the kid.
And I wanted to talk about local stats. I'm afraid to share my screen again with the scare that my video feed is going to freeze. But let me just kind of give a rundown. Like, I didn't go too deep into county by county or anything, but I do have some Florida stats up here. So basically, as far as like new listings, what I do is I compare on a year over year basis. So I don't know if you've looked at these, Chris, but for August 2022, so new listings, there wasn't that much of a change. It was actually down 3% compared to this time last year, but not a whole lot of change. 3% down. It's been in the green the past several months, but active inventory is up 70% compared to
See,
or
everything's sitting.
August.
Things are
August of
sitting.
yeah, they're sitting long. Well, so then the next stat here is time to contract. That's up 77% for the entire state
Look
of
at
Florida.
that.
It's gone from 9 days to
To
16 days.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're talking, and this is, like I said, this is like an average for the entire state. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with this particular county or whatever. This
Yep.
is an average. So
Average.
so in your particular area, it could be more than 16 days, or it could be still a little less. But what I'm seeing in my local area, and I'm sure you're seeing the same, is that time to contract is increasing where we're at as well.
Yeah. And
so here in Central Florida.
People got to remember that pre-pandemic, there were on average 65,000 people move into the Florida market, right, before
Yes.
the pandemic. And during the pandemic, when things started going back up, it shifted to 365,000 people.
Yes.
Like, literally 1,000 people a day. So
Yep.
when you have this increase of interest rates and it's impacting people's affordability in a huge way, that number starts drastically falling from 365 to 300 to 250 to 200. And that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
And even before the pandemic, homes were selling really quickly for the most part, but
Yep.
on average, the days on market was like almost 60 days. I think
Yep.
it was
Yep.
before the pandemic. 60 days.
60
From
days,
60
2
days
months.
all the way down to 9 days
9
for the
days.
freaking state.
Right.
To now 16 days. So
Yep.
all this evidence is starting to show the needle, where the pendulum starting to swing back towards the buyers.
Correct.
But
slowly getting
where slowly. It's going to be a period of months, all right?
Yep.
just like when there's a new policy change, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a
Right.
long time for these to take effect.
It does. And
And
then
so,
look at median sales price. It's
yeah,
up
yeah,
15% from 354. We're still sitting over $400,000 on the median sales price, and then month
that's
supply
crazy.
is so. What was it for national level? It was uh,
390 something.
3.6, 3.9. So for Florida, it's
Oh, I
2.4,
thought
but
you were talking about median price.
That's up from 1.3. So last year it was 1.3. Now it's 2.4. So pretty. Still, it's an 85% increase. So if you look at percentage wise, I mean, we are
Mhm.
drastically changing. The market is just drastically changing really quick.
Yeah, our
Uh,
month supply before the pandemic, the lowest it got was like 2.7. It was teetering between 2 and 3,
yeah,
or
yeah,
three, like two high
right,
twos and low threes.
yeah,
That's before the pandemic, and then it
yeah,
got all the way below 1.
yes, it did.
nine
Florida
days
got,
on
yeah,
9 days on market. Nine
it
days
did.
on
Yep,
market for the state of
yep,
Florida. That's
yeah,
under a month's supply.
yep. And so basically what that I mean, a normal market is somewhere around 5 or 6 months supply. A normal market of active inventory, we're sitting at almost 64,000 homes actively for sale right now for the entire state of Florida. A normal market sits somewhere around 90,000. We were
Mhm.
down in the mid to high 20s for the entire. Or it was no. It was like 30% or 30,000 homes actively for sale last year. This time last year, it was 37,000 homes for sale.
Wow,
Normal market, like I said, is 90,000. So we
yeah,
were like
for sale.
way low, and now we're at 63,000. So it's slowly getting there. So then continuing on. So as far as closed sales for the month of August, just under 25,000. And then of those closed sales, still 30% of them are still cash deals.
Yeah,
So we're still seeing almost a
that's still really
third of
high.
the deals, the sales are cash deals, which
Yeah,
is
those are investors for
yeah,
sure. Those are the investors at that low, because investors' sweet spot for the greatest return on their investment is between that 100,000 and 250.
yes,
So when
yeah,
we're seeing those multiple offers, it's not just regular people; it's still investors. And a lot of homes that I'm seeing come up for sale are investors as well.
right, yeah, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of those over here too,
They're
and
starting they're starting to unload.
yeah, yeah. And why wouldn't they? I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
When you
they
had
they
when you
kind of
have giant
miss
portfolios, they need to start unloading, and they
yeah,
will. They'll start unloading.
yep, yep. And then they'll wait for it to go back down and start buying up some stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's just part of being an investor. But going back to one of your previous points, you always get the question of, when should I buy a home? And my usual response is the best time to buy a home is when you need to buy a home. Don't
Yeah.
put your life on hold. Now there's
Yeah.
obviously, you kind of hit it earlier talking about, what do you want to do? Are you investing? Are you wanting to rent
Yeah.
it? Or you is a vacation home? Or but if you're buying a single family home for your family, yourself, or whatever to live in it, the best time to buy a home is when you're honestly when you're ready to buy a home. Don't put all that on hold in hopes that the market is going to change. You may be paying top dollar rental prices waiting to get into a house. So it's
Excuse me. I was listening to one of my podcasts called Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar, and they were talking about, even right now, like these big capital groups such as BlackRock, being that new construction has kind of like slumped down quite a bit.
uh-huh.
They're actually buying up. They're actually throwing offers at like BlackRock and some of these other big capitals, um, and to buy up their entire community before they're even done building. For some of them are like $20 million. Some of the bigger ones are like $200 million, and it's because the consumer is getting hit so hard, and a lot of these builders are not helping the consumer because it takes on average 6 to 9 months to build these homes. With interest rates jumping as fast as they can, a lot of these buyers can't afford these homes now, and these
Yeah.
builders are honestly not willing to work with these buyers at all. And so, what do they got to do? So they're starting to turn to some of these big capital companies, such as like BlackRock, and they're buying up these communities, like
Yeah.
again, and it's just like, that one of the biggest freedoms that we have as an American is our ability to own land.
Yes.
Like we own the earth that's below our house.
Correct.
Okay. And if some of these big capital companies just keep buying up these vast quantities of neighborhoods, I don't think there's a saying, like kind of conspiracy. And the saying is, you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy.
Right.
And it's just like, that's fucking scary. Think about that. You'll own
Yeah.
nothing, but you'll be happy.
Of course.
You'll rent your car. You'll rent your house. You don't have to worry about owning anything. Subscribe to this. Subscribe to that. Social credit scores. I'm going down conspiracy lane. Sorry, this whiskey's is helping me. But like, it's scary to think, when all these big companies are buying up vast neighborhoods instead of just helping people.
Yeah.
That's what the American fucking dream is,
Agreed.
But that's enough of me. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole.
Wrap it up.
Let's wrap this up.
Well, I know sometimes it gets a little boring talking about some of these stats. We try to make it as interesting as we can, but it's just a bunch of information. And if you started watching at the end of it, go back to the beginning and listen to
our rant.
Our rant and what happened, and I'm kind of curious to see what other people think about what happened, because as a consumer, as somebody who's buying a house or selling a house, what would you think about that situation? Let's say you were a FSBO and for sale by owner, and that happened. What would you think about it? Like, what would you do? Would you know? Would you have even thought about that kind of stuff? So, but I'm curious to see what other people think.
I'm curious too.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But
so, anyways, Jinx. So, people, we will not be on next week, but we will be on the following week, the 26th or the 27th, which will be a Wednesday, Thursday. Yes. So until then, I raise your glasses. I salute to you, our guests, and to Jared for being with us tonight as we go over the market update.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Oh, and you guys can find this on the or Spotify. If you want to listen to the audio only, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
iHeartRadio,
Anchor FM. So check it out.
Deuces.
Cheese.
Next time, I'm going to have my guitar right here. I'm going to bust it out.
You think so, huh? We'll see.